Just a couple of hours ago, a subcommittee of the House Judiciary Committee held a hearing on the disgraced Southern Poverty Law Center, specifically the way it's been targeting Christians and conservative Americans. And among those who testified was an executive VP of Charlie Kirk's Turning Point USA, Tyler O'Neill. Literally, he wrote the book on the SPLC. But in addition to him was our very own Tony Perkins. He was at the hearing, he testified, and he is joining me now, just literally coming in from the Capitol to discuss this. Tony, thank you for joining me. Thank you for rushing over here.
I feel like Jody. I know I've never seen it from this side. It's a different view. It's a different view.
It's a different view.
It actually looks pretty good.
Well, I feel like we need some musical chairs to change seats here.
Well, thanks for filling in, because I could not have testified today before the Constitution Committee had you not been filling in for me.
Well, let's start with what you shared with that.
Well, it really focused on the Southern Poverty Law Center, kind of connecting the thread from what happened here in August of 2012 when we had a gunman come in our building and to kill us, shot Leo Johnson, who was able to stop him, through to 2017 when our friend, my former Louisiana colleague, Steve Scalise, was shot at a congressional baseball practice. He had been labeled by the Southern Poverty Law Center. And then most recently, Charlie Kirk, also labeled by the Southern Poverty Law Center and assassinated there on that college campus. Of course, we were labeled in 2010. We were the first to be labeled. Of course, now there's dozens and dozens of Christians and conservative organizations. But Jody, what was most ironic, I should say, is that the Democrats on the committee complaining that the Republicans were having this hearing and that this would marginalize, intimidate, and silence the Southern Poverty Law Center and civil rights organizations that want to speak out. Duh, wow. That's why we're here. That's exactly what the Southern Poverty Law Center is doing. And my point was, they have every right to do that. The issue is not what they say, or the fact that they have a map. It's who uses the map and amplifies their voice. The government should not be using an advocacy organization that has a left-wing ideology, or a right-wing for that matter. It should be a neutral, peer-reviewed criteria for elevating a standard of what they call as a hate group.
So is that the message you hope sticks with this subcommittee?
I do. So there's really three levels of this. And people don't realize how the Southern Poverty Law Center has utilized the federal government using it. The media uses them as some type of arbiter. You know, to use the sports analogy, I said, they're like a player, but a referee and the announcer. And they're the ones blowing the whistle on the other side when they don't like what they're saying. And so they're not only at the federal government, they're at the state level. We actually have law enforcement that has utilized their list. And most frightening, Jody, is that they have a curriculum that they're putting into public schools. It used to be called Teaching Tolerance. They've changed the name of it now. But their ideology is being used in our public schools. Again, supposedly to be this neutral viewpoint on these issues, when in fact it's a leftist ideology.
Yeah, unbelievable that they could even call it teaching tolerance. I mean, their view is anything but. So what was your feel, Tony, of the members of the committee? What was your take on how, on both sides of the aisle, how they were receiving the information?
Well, first off, on the Republican side, it was, frankly, for a subcommittee, it was well attended. It was a long, we've been up there for a couple hours. The members were well informed, asked, I think, good questions. You've been there before. Most of the members, especially when we look at the Democratic side, are not there to gain any information. It is to, in fact, a couple on the Democratic side were making statements totally unrelated to the topic just because it was a platform for them to attack the Trump administration.
Right. Right. Yeah, that's unfortunately try to get the bullet point and get a sound bite that the news would. So was there any media in attendance, and what do you hope the media might get from this?
Yeah, there was some. We'll see what kind of media comes from it. But I think the bottom line message was that the SPLC is not a neutral arbiter. It should not be seen as a referee of what is hate speech or what is not hate speech. But the reality is, it's not about the speech. They say, they're trying to stop violence. Well, none of the conservative groups that they've labeled have ever advocated for violence, and there's no consistent definition. There's no objective definition of what hate or anything else based upon what they label exists. It's all subjective. It's all ideologically driven. It's not based upon behavior. I mean, if organizations are out there advocating for violence or engaging in violence, sure, label them. But that's not what's happening here. These are just people they're ideologically opposed to, and corporations use this. So it's government uses it, corporations use it, the media uses it, and what it does is it chills speech. It marginalizes conservative organizations so that the left can advance their agenda.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's just amazing to me how the lack of definition, I think that's an excellent point. There has to be definitions.
Right.
With what
objective
definitions. So we've only got a little over a minute left here, Tony. What needs to happen from here? Where do we go from here?
Well, I think first off, again, I want to be very clear that this is not saying that the Southern Poverty Law Center does not have a right to speak. They do. But government and the media and the corporation should not facilitate an organization that characterizes law-abiding citizens and organizations in ways that suggest violence against them, like Floyd Perkins coming into our building and shooting one of our people is somehow justified, or that the assassin of Charlie Kirk is justified because of the views that Charlie Kirk or Turning Point USA or the Family Research Council espouses. So if we're to come together as a divided nation, we need to have dialogue, conversations. We can differ on the opinions, but we have to have the conversation. The SPLC stands in the way.
Absolutely. Well, Tony, personally, all of us here at FRC and across the country, thank you for taking this stand and for being a voice right now for this incredibly important issue. And thank you for rushing. I won't ask how fast you were on the way over here, but thank you so much.
All right. Thank you, Jody. Merry Christmas. You look good in that chair, by the way.
Thank you.